Gather round. Welcome back to another episode of the Professional Nomad Podcast. As always, I'm your humble host, Stefano. Salute. Thank you for being here today. I want to thank everybody who's able to join us today. As always, hit that like button. Make sure you are subscribed. We are growing. We have now crossed the 230 subscriber mark, and I appreciate every last one of you guys that have taken time out to watch any other content on this channel, listen to any of this on the podcast, and the new people who continue to keep on joining us. Thank you. Now, please keep hitting that button, keep hitting that like button, keep hitting that subscribe button. We're growing. Like I said, we're trying to bring all of the nomadic mindseted people to this area right here, right? So without having to do a lot of explaining, I want you to know that this is the place for you. So tell your friends about it, share it, tell them to come in. You can feel as welcome as you want to be. Take your shoes off at the door. All right. So, well, I'm not going to have a big long monologue today about this, but got a good video today. I don't know if any of you have heard about Trevor Bauer, his incidents he's been having with the young ladies. But as I've always said in the past couple of weeks, I've been saying, guys, you need to make sure that you're not putting yourself in the predicaments that's going to cause you to look bad, right? And Mr. Bauer sure did that. Mr. Bauer put himself in several situations that caused him to be in a couple lawsuits of the S kind, if that makes sense. S assault. Now, some of these have been debunked, and we're going to get into it. The thing about it is that one of these ladies that falsely accused him of it has now been indicted on fraud and extortion charges. And we're going to cover a video today. We're going to do a blind reaction today on a video that's a lawyer explaining detail for detail why she's in trouble and how she messed up. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring that on up here, and we're going to look at it. So let's get started. But Mr. Bauer, after this, I don't know if he's ever going to get his life back. Living like a rock star and partying and having sex with all these women, it's pretty much killed him. Oh, but first, let me see who we got in the building. Hold up. Where are my manners? The beautiful Lakakina. Welcome, Nomads. Welcome to another episode of the Professional Nomad Podcast. Thank you, Lakakina. Gracias, as always. All right, now let's get into it.
Or you might know him as the ace pitcher who ace pitcher in Major League Baseball. Or you might know him as the ace pitcher who landed himself in the minor leagues after a total of 4 women came out with sexual abuse allegations against him. After he was suspended from the MLB as a result of an arbitration hearing over one of the claims, he was let go from the Los Angeles Dodgers and subsequently picked up by a team in Japan. He's currently playing for another team in Mexico and trying to make his way back to the major leagues again. Now, like I said before, the first accusation out of the 4 to come publicly came from Lindsay Hill. She filed a police report against him alleging sexual assault and then filed a petition for a domestic violence restraining order. Bauer then sued Hill for defamation, and Hill countersued, and eventually the two settled out of court with no money exchanged between them.
Let's stop it right there for a second. Now, the thing about this man has lost his whole career because of these assault lawsuits, right? He's got a total of 4, but he hasn't lost any of them, right? Even the one that they just described, they both agreed to just settle out of court, but no money was exchanged. Some kind of insurance payout was made to her, but I think it was her insurance that paid her, not his. So no damages were assessed, and he didn't have to pay her anything. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that he didn't have any control over what he was doing. He was out here just thinking with the wrong head, because how else could he end up in these situations where 4 different women had the ability to file 4 different lawsuits against him, whether they're true or false? Okay, whether they're true or false. How did you put yourself in this position to where you ended up in the position to where 4 different people can say you did something very malicious to him in the form of assault, right? How? Now, here's the problem. You know, when you're out and you're partying and you're trying to meet women, sometimes you're meeting them on apps, or sometimes you meeting them in person. What he's going to tell you his problem was is that he wasn't the one doing the pursuing. The women were pursuing him. So he thought he was a hot commodity. And the law of man teaches you that hot chicks don't approach you unless they want something. Men normally have to approach women. Women don't approach you unless they want something from you. And being that this guy, I'm going to say he didn't really have a lot of experience with women prior to having some money, right? He would have understood that. But let me know what you think. Leave a comment below. I want you to really pay attention to the video, because I got a poll in the chat. In the chat, I want you to say yes or no to do you think that this lady, Adana, deserves to be indicted? I put it in the chat. On everybody to go take that poll. It'll be available during the live video. It won't be available after the video. So go ahead, if you're watching this on the live video, go ahead and take that live chat. It's only on YouTube too, because we're live on Facebook and Twitter right now. So, but only on YouTube can you see this poll, and you can take the poll in my live chat over here on YouTube. So if you want to take it, you got to come over here, pull up the video, and it's in the chat. It's the first thing you're going to see. Let me know if you think she deserves to be indicted or not. Even if you don't take the poll, let me know if you think she deserves to be indicted or not. All right. Leave a comment below if you're watching this on the replay. Also, if you're not subscribed, hit the like button. Subscribe. If you're watching this on a replay, thank you for watching. But please subscribe. All right. Let's get back to it. Make sure you got to subscribe. Now, you got to make sure you subscribe so you can stay tuned to all this stuff. Gracias like a kina. Let's get back to it.
She did walk away receiving some kind of payment. However, that appears to be from insurance that she had for herself. Essentially, in the end, everyone just agreed to put their knives down and walk away. But in the process, Bauer basically lost his whole career, and at a time when he really was at the top of the industry. And the media has been covering it primarily from the perspective of the accusers. I did a video quite a while ago about this case and the settlement that resulted between Bauer and Hill, as well as the media blitz that Hill.
Guys, make sure you go check out her channel. This is Legal Bites. She's got a lot of great content over there. She's 5 months pregnant at the time of recording this video too. So a lot of the expertise she's going to touch on in this video is going to come because she's actually pregnant. So make sure you go over there and give her a sub. Tell her the Professional Nomad sent you.
Went on afterwards. A link to it is in the description below, but the short of it basically is after evidence was made public that included a selfie video that she took the morning after she says that he beat her in bed, many people in the court of public opinion really turned on Lindsay Hill and concluded that her claims were unconvincing. And I have to say that I am one of those people who is personally unconvinced of her allegations. But if you want to see more detailed analysis of my thoughts on that case, watch the video in the description below. Now, that said, Hill still maintains her accusations publicly. And one argument that she has made in support is she points to the fact that 3 other women have also accused Bauer of similar acts of misconduct. But I will say that there are several problems with using other people's accusations and other people's cases as support for your case. First of all, it's a relevancy issue. These are all separate alleged encounters that other women have had with Bauer, and those would each be tried individually if brought to trial. Now, I understand that sometimes when people see a series of accusations like this, they'll see that as like where there's smoke, there's fire. But on the flip side, when one person comes out with accusations against a person, it could also be that there are, say, sharks in the water that smell blood and want to take advantage. So in a situation like this,
let me stop her right there. Now, she touched on a good point right there. All right. Usually when one person files a lawsuit like this, as we can learn from Diddy, right, after the Cassie lawsuit, usually when one person files a lawsuit like this, there are more to come. All right. That's why, fellas, you have to make sure that you're thinking with the right heads at all times. All right. Use this, not this. Because this is the thing that can't happen to you if you do not think correctly. Especially if you're a young rich man out here, or even if you're an older rich man, to be honest with you. The whole fact of the matter is he was just recklessly out here jumping from one woman to the next, and these women just saw an opportunity to take advantage of him, and he pretty much let them, and it cost him his whole career. Now, as a man, I'm not going to say that I've ever turned down a woman, but the older I got, the more wiser that I got too, and I also knew when I should turn down women or advances from a woman, put it that way. At some point in time in your life, you have to start thinking as an adult. You have to start thinking as an adult. You cannot let your emotions or your feelings dictate how you move in life. It's just not how it works. And it's hard for me to explain this situation because it's 4 different women. So he recklessly did this with 4 different women that accused him of the same thing. How are you attracting the same type women that are going to accuse you of the same thing over and over and over again? But I digress. Let's get back to this video.
you have to ask, are these accusers highlighting the existence of a fire started by Bauer? Or are they simply sharks in the water that smell Bauer's blood? And aside from that, just from a logical perspective, keep in mind that you could also have one allegation actually be real and the others be total frauds. In other words, the truth or accuracy of one claim does not prove the truth or accuracy of another. So, turning back to Lindsay Hill and the use of other accusers as support for the idea that she herself was assaulted, if you use those other women's cases as support and they end up turning out to be lying liars who lied about their allegations, you end up losing some serious support for your arguments. And that at least appears to be what happened here with this second accuser. So, what's the story with her? According to reports, the second accuser is Darcy Adana Esimonu. And apparently, on March 19th, 2024, she was indicted by an Arizona grand jury on felony charges of fraudulent schemes and theft by extortion. And this ABC article further reads, Darcy Adana Esimonu knowingly did obtain a benefit from Trevor Anthony Bauer by means of fraudulent pretenses, representation, promises, or material omissions, according to an indictment dated March 19th and filed Monday in the Superior Court of Arizona in Maricopa County. And it says Esimonu also
Stop it right there. Now, as you can see, right, they have indicted this one lady, Adana Esimonu, right, and saying she benefited from this some kind of way. I don't know how she did, but she did, right? And she did it by fraudulent pretenses, representation, promises, and or material omissions. All right. That's what the indictment reads. And she was indicted on March 19th, okay, in Arizona in Maricopa County. So they're saying she knowingly did obtain or sought to obtain property or services by means of threat to in the future expose a secret to assert a fact of social media. Oh, so no, this is not about him. This is, oh yeah, well, yeah, it is. A social media message or in any other manner involving another individual, according to the indictment. That indictment is not associated with. So here they're talking about another person that she threatened to indict. All right. So, I mean, she threatened to extort. So now you have two people that are claiming that Adana has extorted them. Wow. Wow. So she's just a trickster. She's a scammer. She's a true scammer. And she's out here just baiting people in. Once again, you got to watch them.
also knowingly did obtain or sought to obtain property or services by means of a threat to in the future expose a secret or an asserted fact in a social media message or in any other manner involving another individual, according to the indictment. That individual is not associated with Bauer, his attorney told ESPN. So, in other words, these are two separate cases, but she basically did the same thing with both alleged victims. And now I looked this up on the Maricopa County Court website, and yeah, here's the information for the charge. You can see the defendant here is Darcy Adana Esimonu, and it says she's been charged with a white collar / cybercrime.
Okay, so look at it here. There's a name, Darcy Adana Esimonu. That's the defendant. That's her, right? All right. Yeah, they got her good. They got her real good. Oh my God. Let's
The
continue.
victim in the case is represented by Ann Chapman, who, interestingly enough, represents Trevor Bauer. Now, before we run away with these developments, I do want to point out that she has been indicted, not yet tried, and certainly not convicted. And generally speaking, indictments are pretty easy to come by. The DA really has a very low bar to meet. And so the fact that she was successfully indicted doesn't necessarily mean that she will be successfully convicted. And remember, to successfully convict, the DA has to prove the case beyond reasonable doubt. That is a very high standard. So the question is, do they have enough evidence to actually convict her of these crimes? And with that, let's take a look at exactly what happened here and why this might actually be a pretty good case for fraud. According to Bauer's recent 5-minute video talking about the criminal charges, he and Esimonu slept together once in 2020. And similar to what he says about Lindsay Hill, Bauer says Esimonu came on to him. As a side note, if there's anything for Bauer to have learned from all of these situations, assuming that what he's saying is true, of course, maybe it's that he should start taking on the role of pursuing women to date and to stay away from the kinds of women that are actually pursuing him.
Let me stop it right there. I just said this. I just said this. You have to be wary of women who approach you. Naturally, men approach women. Women don't approach men unless they want something. Now let this be a lesson to all the men watching this on the replay. All right. Here's an example. Hypothetically speaking, you're in the club somewhere, you with your boys and you're out drinking, you're having fun, and a woman approaches you. She is a drop dead gorgeous 10. What should you do? She's talking to you, y'all having a good conversation, and she's saying she wants to leave with you right now. What do you do? What do you say? Leave a comment below. What do you say? I'll tell you what you should say. You should say, get the hell away from me. Again, women do not approach men unless they want something for you. If a woman is approaching you, something is wrong. That is not the natural order thing. Men approach women. Naturally, in a club setting, when you're out somewhere, men are the ones that are walking up on women in the clubs. Men are the ones that are approaching women in the grocery stores. Men are the ones that are cold calling women on the streets, etc., etc. You are not going to hardly ever see women approaching a man. If a woman is approaching a man, something's wrong. Something's wrong. Okay? Something's wrong with that situation. And most of you guys, you know, you're thinking with the wrong head, and you have to understand, okay, well, how do I get out of this? It's okay to conversate, it's okay to talk, but like I'm saying, you naturally, a woman should not be approaching you, making advances at you. Make sure you subscribe to my Instagram page. All right, guys. We drop content over there on TikTok and everything else. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and get this banner going up here. Boom. All right. Gracias la quina. Subscribe to our page. Subscribe to the social media links below. We're on everything right now. We're live on Twitter, X. We're live on Facebook, and we're live on YouTube. Make sure you're over there liking videos. Do your thing. Tell your friends about it. Tell them to come check us out. Leave a comment. Give us their honest opinion on what we're doing over here. All right. But yeah, guys, you got to know better. You got to do better. It's not a given that anytime. Well, that's just how I learned, how I was raised. No woman should be approaching you. You should be approaching the women. If a woman is approaching you, that's a problem. Like, what do you want? Because you have to want something. That's the whole God honest truth. It's not a given. All right. Gracias la quina. Let's get back to this video.
Not legal advice. I'm not a dating expert. This is totally unsolicited. Take it or leave it. Anyway, in December 2022, after Lindsay Hill went public with her allegations against Trevor Bauer, Esimonu filed a civil lawsuit against Bauer, making a number of allegations. And a week after she filed the civil suit, she reported the alleged assault to Scottsdale police. Specifically, she claimed in her civil claim that she had an unplanned pregnancy after Bauer violently sexually assaulted her in December 2020. Now, there were a number of claims in her complaint that I'm going to skip over so that we can keep this video relatively monetized if possible. But one of them was that he held a jagged steak knife to her throat and used her hair as rope to choke her. However, she later amended the complaint, alleging that Bauer instructed that she should not keep any records about what had occurred, including the pregnancy, and that they should keep it private between themselves. Now, according to Bauer in a recent video statement that he published to YouTube about these charges, before she even filed the civil suit, she privately came to him demanding $3.6 million to abort the alleged pregnancy.
Wow.
So in other words, according to Bauer, she made this claim first to him privately that she was pregnant with his child and said that she would abort if he paid $3.6 million.
Now, this sounds like what's going on with Fresh and Fit. Well, Fresh from Fresh and Fit. If any of you have watched this, I would have covered it, but so many people covering it right now, I didn't think it was necessary. But it sounded like a scam too. Same way that sounds like a scam. The thing that's going on with Fresh right now sounds like a scam too. This girl just ups and records the conversation. And then the conversation she records is the one where she tells him she's pregnant. It's a scam. That is scamming to the fullest right there, okay? That is the first thing. I'm going to get you on tape. So if you're threatening me, I have something to take to court and sue you, all right? Make sure you subscribe and follow us on X, on Twitter, X, all right? Make sure you follow us over there. We're live right now over there, all right? And across all three platforms right now, 34 people watching. So thank you guys. Make sure that you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that follow button. All right. Thank you for paying attention. But gracias like a quina. But all right. As I just said, and as I just mentioned, you guys got to start thinking better. You got to start doing better. I mean, we got a lot of people out here that preach a lot of stuff about dating, and look like what Fresh is going through. It just really contradicts everything. It's kind of like when you do things like that, and then you find yourself in situations, and anybody can make a mistake and slip up and, do something out of error. But when we come to find out that you've been doing this, it tends to make it seem like everything that you ever said was a lie, even if this was one slip up. How did you find yourself in this position? Like, you can't be online preaching like you're holier than thou, and then next thing we know, you're preaching about families and doing this and doing that, and then next thing you know, you're out here getting women pregnant and running out. Like Fresh, right? And this situation sounds so eerily similar to that one because she sounds like she's doing the same thing she did that the Asian lady's doing to Fresh, right? Calling him. I'm surprised she didn't record the conversation. I'm pregnant. I need $3.6 million to abort your baby. That's an expensive abortion right there, man. Very expensive. I mean, but who am I? I don't know how much they charge for abortions in Arizona, but Jesus Christ. Let's get back to this video.
He refused, so she went ahead and filed a lawsuit in December 2022. Then in January 2023, Bauer's attorney, Ann Chapman, remember the one listed on the criminal case information page as representing the victim, reached out to the Scottsdale Police Department to file a criminal complaint against Esimonu. In it, Chapman accused Esimonu of theft by extortion, saying Esimonu had demanded financial compensation from her client for a pregnancy and abortion that was alleged to be false. Now, mind you, before Chapman went to the police with the extortion claims, Esimonu was actually interviewed by Scottsdale police in connection with her criminal complaint against Bauer. And according to ESPN's reporting from police reports they obtained, she initially said she had a miscarriage, but later referred to it as an abortion. And when the detective questioned her as to which one she had, noting that these are two separate things, she responded, "They're pretty much the same thing."
And here's how she got herself caught up. Right, guys? All right. Here's how she got herself caught up right there. All right. Now, look at that. Look at that right there. And you'll see that this is a woman, and all women are educated on, S reproduction and things like that in school. Right. Right. Now, a woman should know the difference between the types of the difference between a miscarriage and an abortion. Let's put it that way. All right. I'm gonna try to keep it clean so I don't get a strike myself. But I'm just saying, when she reported her incident with Mr. Bauer, she went down there and filled out a report. Right. One, that's lying to the police. Okay. Two, now when she was down there, and she was talking to him. She talked to him and she gave him a story. But she didn't have her facts straight, and they caught her. So they had to ask her, which one is it? Did you have, you know, miscarriage, or did you terminate? She said they're basically the same thing. And in all honesty, for everybody that works in healthcare like myself, we know that the actual term for a miscarriage is spontaneous abortion. And she's going to talk about this too. But what they're referring to is, did you go to a place to have them specifically assist you with terminating your pregnancy? That type of abortion, not a natural, spontaneous event. Okay. What she's trying to say is it's the same thing. But at that very moment when you're talking to detectives, they're not trying to hear that. And it kind of makes you look bad as a woman, because how do you not know the difference between something that is spontaneous and intentional? How do you not know something that is quote unquote, you know, created by God or assisted by man, you know? And also make sure you are subscribed to my Facebook page. Follow the Facebook page. Go over there. We're live right now on Facebook, guys. Go over there and hit that follow button. All right. Hit the like button on all the videos over there too. Gracias like Akina. Yes, as a lady, you're supposed to be educated on these type of things. How are you not? How are you not? Right? So her story started to unfold slowly but surely, because she didn't get her story straight before she went in there. And that's the problem with people who lie, right? When people lie, let me put myself back up here. I'm gonna solo myself out. When people lie, this is the thing why I don't like lying, and I don't like people who lie. And people who lie should always remember that when you lie, you have to create other lies to cover up the other lie. And after so long, your lies start to sound like lies. I don't care how fast a talker you are, how good of a talker you are. I don't care about any of that. Right? People with good knowledge and good street sense and good common sense know the difference between the truth and a lie. Especially if you're very studious people like myself. I can sit here and I listen to you and I study you. And I listen to you over and over and over again, because I'm very unbiased. I'll listen to you. And then once I catch you, I got you. And you know the old saying, once you get quiet, you either learned or you caught on. It's one or the other. All right. So that's the thing with lying. It's better for you to just keep it real and tell the truth. And I'm not telling everybody to keep it real to the point to where, it's a thin line between keeping it real and being rude too. All right. So I'm not telling everybody to turn into Ike Turner, to turn into Rick James, right? But I'm saying it's better for you to just keep it real and be honest about stuff instead of trying to lie. Because you end up in a situation like Miss Adana here. Let's get back to the video, all right?
And said she no longer wanted to talk about it. And then a month later, in a follow-up conversation with the same detective, Simonu told the detective that she in fact didn't have an abortion, but miscarried just before going to a clinic located in another state. So, okay, a contradiction in a later statement to the police. But she further said that she did not visit any medical persons for any treatment, but rather saw her OBGYN in Scottsdale when she returned to Arizona. And on top of that, the detective added that the medical records she provided to the police did not indicate one way or another whether she was in fact pregnant. Okay, now I have some thoughts on this, but
so she had to provide her medical records. That's another way she got caught up. She provided her medical records. In the medical records, it did not mention anything about her ever being pregnant in her life. Ever. I mean, doctors don't make things up. It's okay to get a second opinion here or there if you want to. I sure would and sure will. But as far as her case is, they told her to bring in her medical records and she submitted them. When she did, when they went through them, no pregnancies. That's a problem. Okay. So, one, she lied about being pregnant and got caught because she said she had a miscarriage, but she told them she had an abortion. She mixed them up and got caught in the lie, right? Two, her medical records did not show whether she was ever pregnant or not. Strange, right? Yeah. Let's keep going. We're going to keep going. We're going to keep seeing how she fumbled the ball on this one. All right, let's go.
first, I want to point out one more detail. In her amended civil complaint, Simonu apparently claimed that at one point, when she was about 3 months pregnant, Bauer became enraged that she went to the hospital because she was feeling like she wanted to harm herself over the things that had allegedly happened. And in his rage, she says that he slammed her onto a computer, breaking the screen. Okay, so with all of that said, let's go over a few things about pregnancy, miscarriage, and abortion. Now, this is obviously a super sensitive topic to talk about. And as someone who is currently almost 5 months pregnant herself and who took her sweet time to tell the internet about the fact that she's pregnant, I sure as hell would know and understand that. So let's proceed accordingly. So let's start with what we know about what Simonu says about the alleged pregnancy. Now, Simonu claims that that whole computer incident happened when she was 3 months pregnant. So we know that she at least claims that she got at least as far as 3 months into the pregnancy. She also claims that she knew about the pregnancy at this point. I point that out because there definitely are cases where some women simply don't know that they're pregnant until I don't know, 6 months into the pregnancy. Maybe it's because they've been super busy with their work lives and they've had really mild pregnancy symptoms. Maybe they're currently breastfeeding a previous child and not expecting to even be able to get pregnant anytime soon. In other words, a number of things can explain why a woman might not be aware well into the pregnancy. But here, she says that she knew that she was pregnant. And she said that she saw her OBGYN after this miscarriage. This means that she was at least 3 months pregnant when she was being treated by an OBGYN when the alleged miscarriage happened. These are important details to keep in mind. Now, first off, let's talk about prenatal care. When a woman takes an at-home pregnancy test and the test comes back positive, the first thing that she might do is first take a second pregnancy test, most likely, because what if that first one is lying? But after that, when reality sets in, the next immediate thing to do is to contact either the OBGYN that you're already seeing or your primary care doctor who refers you to an OBGYN. And the first thing, the absolute first thing that the OBGYN is going to do is confirm the pregnancy. Now, in my experience and based on my copious research before the first appointment, this is typical. What happens in that first appointment is a blood test and an ultrasound, and that's how ultimately it gets confirmed. So by the end of the very first appointment, the woman is usually walking away with a medical report from the OBGYN saying, yep, she's preg. And then this report might get turned over to insurance, who then approves all the prenatal care appointments moving forward. So in other words, from the very first appointment with the OBGYN, there is documentation of the pregnancy, and a lot of it. Now, remember that in her amended complaint, Esimonu alleged that Bauer instructed her not to keep any records of the pregnancy. But like I said, she did tell investigators that she was seeing an OBGYN, and to my mind, there is absolutely no way that any OBGYN is going to be like, okay, I'm not going to do what is professionally supposed to happen for your medical care, including confirming the pregnancy and keeping a record of your visits and all the reports from those visits. So even if Esimonu never received a copy of the medical report from her OBGYN, that does not mean that it didn't exist in her medical files. And in fact, I would be shocked if the doctor agreed not to keep those records. That, to my mind, could very well be malpractice. And because Esimonu placed it squarely at issue in her civil claim and in the criminal complaint that she filed against Bauer, it is absolutely discoverable evidence, despite the otherwise confidential nature of those kind of documents.
Let me stop it right there. Salute to Frank Tate. What's up, Frank? Thank you for stopping through here, man. Yeah, you got that right, man. They're always trying to scam and make a quick come up, especially like this one, man. Tell Lily I said hello. All right. Thank you for your comment, brother. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Now Legal Bites just broke down the whole pregnancy routine. What happens when you find out you're pregnant, you take a test, you take two because the first one might be lying. Then you go get it confirmed by a doctor. The doctor will draw your blood and they'll draw tests because they have to do that in order to get paid by your insurance. And then once that happens, the insurance then covers everything by telling them go ahead because she's going to need prenatal care, because you're going to need a whole lot of appointments. If you're a real responsible person that's real serious about your health and the health of your kid, unborn or born, before or after, you're going to be involved with a doctor a lot. So they have to take their blood. That's the first thing they're going to do. They're going to take it. They're going to draw your blood, do the test. That's what happened with my daughter. They did it. They tested the blood 5-6 times just to make sure, and they documented it, and they sent it off, right? Just so the insurance people would know, what insurance company would know that, all right, this person here is pregnant. You're her insurer. Pay me, right? But they also have to keep documentation of that for legal purposes. Legally, all right, legally, they're bound to keep your records for 7 years, right? Anyone educated in healthcare knows this. I know this. They got those records. So you can always go back and get your records, even if you're not seeing this provider anymore. They have to keep them for 7 years. 7 years. Remember that. 7 years. All right. But in this case, Miss Adonna said Trevor told her to tell them not to keep the records. Now, why would they do that? Legally, they're bound to keep it. One of the things that providers do, medical providers do, they keep the records, especially electronically, because they receive incentives, right? Obamacare, when Obama instituted Obamacare, doctors and hospitals who switched over to electronic billing forms received an incentive to do this, but they had to keep that documentation on file. And like I said, they keep it for 7 years. So why would they throw away their only incentive of keeping their proof so they can get paid. During the pandemic, so many providers got paid like this because they had proof of so many people being tested for COVID. People weren't being paid because they tested positive for COVID. They were being paid because they just tested for COVID. So each person that took a test, that was a separate case of COVID. And a lot of people don't know that. That's why the numbers were so screwed up. That's a whole nother story I can get into. But every time they tested, like if they tested you 3 times and you were positive, that was 3 different cases. Let that sink in. Now imagine how many people they tested multiple times, right? It's different. Like for this lady who was pregnant, they didn't test her 3 times, so she's pregnant 3 times. But for COVID, this is what they did. Anyway, she's saying that he told her to tell her doctor not to keep the records. And they're not going to do that. It's a flat out lie. But let's keep on. Let's go on to video so we can let her keep on sinking her ship. All right.
Documents. So Bauer in the civil case and the police in the criminal case would be entitled to all of her medical records related to the pregnancy or alleged abortion or alleged miscarriage from her prenatal care doctor. So that leads to the question, why was that never produced to the police when they asked for it when investigating on her behalf? And why does Bauer say that he has no documentation from SMONU from the civil suit confirming that she's pregnant? Now, I don't want to speculate, but I will say that she had every interest in producing it. And in my experience, it's not that hard to get a copy of those records from the doctor. And then again, as a litigator, when I have had an absolute banger of a case with super strong evidence to back up my client's claims, I absolutely love the discovery phase when I have every opportunity to give the other side my client's evidence, which, like I said, backs up their claims. And why is that, you might ask? Well, it's because it's the kind of evidence that the other side will look at and go, oh crap, and then pick up the phone and start talking about settlements. So like I said, I don't know specifically why she didn't produce those documents, but the fact that she didn't produce it when asked, either in the civil case or the criminal case, when she had every interest to do so, is totally suspicious.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
John Ralphio?
Now, one thing that I do want to make clear here is that there absolutely are plenty of cases where a woman has in fact been pregnant, but there are no medical records to show it. And that's because the vast majority of miscarriages typically happen at what's called the chemical pregnancy stage. That's the stage where you're still within the first 5 weeks and maybe the embryo forms and maybe even implants in the uterus, but then stops developing. And most OBGYNs will schedule that first appointment at the earliest, like 6 weeks, but maybe more like 7 weeks. So it's entirely possible for a woman to have tested positive multiple times, even with an at-home pregnancy test, then go to a doctor and be told that she's testing negative because she's had maybe a miscarriage in a chemical.
Lady, get your cat. See, this is the okay, look. There's difference between us and them folk right there. We don't let them animals climb on everything. Jesus Christ, get your cat, lady. Get your cat. Jesus Christ.
Pregnancy. And when that happens, there are a lot of women who don't even realize that they were even pregnant to begin with. And on the inverse, there are those who might take an at-home test positive, and then later find out they're no longer testing positive. But with all of that said, as I pointed out earlier, that is not what's going on in this case. As I said, SMONU alleged in her amended complaint that she got to at least 3 months of pregnancy, and she told the detective who was investigating her criminal claims that she was in fact seeing an OBGYN. So there absolutely should be medical records showing that she was at least at some point pregnant. And I see absolutely no reason why those wouldn't have been unavailable to her to produce when requested. Now, another thing that is interesting is the fact that she told investigators that a miscarriage and an abortion are pretty much the same thing. Now, one of the many things that I've learned about pregnancies over the last
Listen up, y'all. This is what I was talking about earlier.
5-ish months is that the clinical term for miscarriage is spontaneous abortion. It might sound alarming because it has the word abortion in it, but it basically means that the pregnancy spontaneously aborted itself. So I wonder if maybe she heard the clinical term for it and then confused the two.
No, don't give her the benefit of the doubt. See, I hate when they do that. Don't be trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe, see, she's a lawyer, right? Maybe she didn't maybe mean nothing. She knew what she was doing when she went in there. Maybe nothing, right? No. Maybe she knew exactly what she was trying to get herself into, but when she got herself into it, she dropped the ball. All right. Yep. All right. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube page. Thank you, like Akina. Gracias. Instagram page as well. Gracias, like Akina. Yeah, she knew what she was doing. She just got herself caught up in the lies, right? I'm trying to give her the benefit of the doubt. That's not going to work here in this case, man. She knew what she was doing. She got herself caught up. Now she's in trouble. Let's go.
That sounds super weird, but I'm just trying to look at this from all possible angles. And otherwise, I kind of have a hard time thinking of any pregnant woman who actually think of a miscarriage or an abortion as the same thing, regardless of what your political perspective is on any of these subjects, by the way. And remember that she also said that after she miscarried, she went to the OBGYN. And again, she was at least 3 months pregnant at that point, if not more. And let me tell you, things absolutely can go wrong with the pregnancy and at any point in the pregnancy. For example, you can have a miscarriage at any point up to the 24th week. And that's just past the halfway point of the pregnancy. Then from 24 to 4 weeks, a stillbirth can happen at any point. Now, the likelihood of these things happening after 12 weeks is super, super small, which is why most pregnant women and couples wait until at least 10 weeks to start telling people about the pregnancy. But these things do happen and they are horrible to go through when they do. And I will say that also from what I've learned, the more into the pregnancy that you get when a miscarriage happens, the more medical intervention is often required in light of that miscarriage. That's simply because the baby has grown to a certain size and all that tissue has to leave the mother's body somehow. So again, bringing this back to SMO News claims, if she was at least 3 months or 12 weeks pregnant when she miscarried, her OBGYN, I would think, would be extremely interested in monitoring what happens during and after the miscarriage to make sure that there are no complications that arise. And if the alleged
Right, exactly. She didn't have any follow-up appointments. Okay. She didn't go get herself taken care of after this so-called miscarriage. And Frank, you're right. She got in over her head. Exactly right. She got in over her head. She fell in the pool and couldn't swim. This is exact bingo. All right. Got in over her head. So I think they call it a DNC, something like that. She didn't have one of those. Right? Because you have to get seen about as a woman after you have a miscarriage. You can't just sit there and say, oh, well, it didn't work. I'll wait till next time. No, you have to go get your insides checked and get that DNC because you could develop an infection, et cetera, et cetera. Like I'm saying, if you work in healthcare, you know anything about healthcare like I do, you know. If she had a miscarriage, she needs to go get seen about immediately. No, we're not waiting. We're going to go right now, urgent care. We're going to go to the emergency room. We're going to call your OBGYN, schedule an appointment right now. We need to get you seen right now because you can develop an infection and die. And we're not going to take those chances. And because she's claiming she didn't, yeah, okay. Let's get back to it.
miscarriage happened at 14 weeks or later, that would be considered a late stage miscarriage and medical attention would become even more important. And again, doctors keep records and all of that would be discoverable. So looking at the situation, I have to say that given her contradictions in her statements to the police and what she's claimed about her alleged pregnancy, things simply are not adding up. The math ain't mathin'.
It
And
ain't
there
mathin'.
seems to be enough here to suggest that at the very least, she has some explaining to do. And a lot of it is going to come down to documents that she either can or can't provide. And if she can't produce these documents, this is absolutely a winning situation for Bauer, because either she pleads not guilty and proceeds towards trial with all these inconsistencies and all of this plays out in public, or she pleads guilty to defrauding Bauer with her claims against him. Now, this, of course, doesn't speak to whether or not the final two accusers' claims are real, the 2 out of the 4 that we haven't talked about in this video. And I'm not going to opine on those since I don't have the information in front of me now. And remember that I said earlier in this video that you can have one accuser's allegations be real and another one be totally false. But looking at this overall situation, this would appear to be that as for the 2 allegations that have been made public through actual legal action, Bauer now seems to be 2 for 2. The guy's batting 1,000, which is pretty damn good for a pitcher. But holy crap, I did not have criminal case against Bauer's accuser on my 2024 bingo card, but here we are. And those are my thoughts. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree?
All right, we're gonna stop it right there. Now, like I said, leave a comment below. And I got a poll in the chat right now. Let me know, do you think that Miss Adana deserves to be indicted? It's yes or no. All you got to do is select yes or no, all right? Once again, make sure you are following my Facebook page for this channel, for the podcast, please. Guys, make sure you go over there and show support. Show support. Below, we have the Cash App. Please support the podcast by donating. It helps us continue and be motivated to create content. You'll see the Cash App below. If you would, please help donate. And in the future, like I said, once this channel becomes monetized, what we're going to do, we're going to have everyone who becomes a member, because that's the only time we can become member, offer the membership is when the monetization happens, right? You're automatically going to be added to the Nomad Worldwide WhatsApp group. And we're going to have people in there like Mr. Frank Tate and Mrs. Lily Tate. They're going to be in there dropping their content so you can know what's going on over there in the Philippines. I think, Frank, if you're still in the chat, are you giving consultations yet about relocating to the Philippines? If you are, it'll be a great service, man. I'm telling you, you'll help a lot of brothers. We're going to have people like them in there talking about Filipino stuff, Filipino lifestyle. You'll be able to go over there and subscribe to the Lily Tate channel, right? Make sure you go over there and check her channel out, right? Matter of fact, I'm going to make Frank a mod. Right now, boom. Yeah, you'll be able to meet people like Frank and Lily Tate. Well, like I said, this is an international thing where we'll be networking and we'll be collaborating across the globe. So Nomad Worldwide WhatsApp group is waiting for you. All right. I'm taking names. Yeah, Frank, I'm telling you, it's a lot of guys that are interested in, relocating to the Philippines, retiring, living in the Philippines, and giving those consultations, brother. That'll be something that'll help you. All right. But it's going to be people like them in there giving out good advice about Filipino lifestyle, culture, and everything. We're just trying to help, and we're trying to network, and we're trying to bring a new way of nomadic living to this space. And I appreciate everyone that tunes in. As always, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you are subscribed. Continue to support. Continue to tell your people about this channel. Tell them to come over here and check us out. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment below. And I am out. Thank you. Salute.